Hello, hello. Is the sound working all right? The video and everything? Oh, great. Thanks. HRM. Hi, Mark. This helps a little lighten the place up a little. Hey, neighbor. I just got this just arrived. This is another project for pretentious watchmakers. This one of the other guys. I think that we totaled $80. We got the a gold-plated 40 millimeter case and a dial with hands, and then a 6894 clone movement. So we're all set. Now we got to put the thing together. It'll take about most of the time be trying to figure out how to get the second hand on. Okay, so well, you guys are here first, so we got a little time. This morning, after we talked about the, how and if the, oh, great, from Eberhard, solid gold. This is gold plated. I think it's on top of steel. Hi, Michael. Anyway, this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I thought, well, after this morning, we looked at that and talked about, well, what are the pros and cons of, you see a watch that just won a GPHG award here. Oh, that must be a good watch, or it's like that's the end of a political decision, something like that. So I was thinking, well, you know, if we line things up and say, okay, here's a watch I'd like, or this is the kind of watch I'd like, or today I want to watch. What are the criteria? Because I think there's one criteria: can I afford it? So you have a certain financial thing that condition is always going to be there. But what are some of the other ones that you actually use in a say, this is why I would like this watch? Hey, Truman, the Academy Awards. How could they not be right? No, actually, I've got, there's so many people involved and so many people voting with so many categories. I think it's better than a little sort of small cabal making all the decisions. Of course, that may be happening too. How do I know? Anyway, okay. So what were other than price, and we'll just assume that price is there. What else would be something that would be a reason to get a watch? Say, I want this watch because this watch has what, or it doesn't have what. For me, it doesn't have a silicone hairspring. That would be one watch. HRM. For me, the tactile experience of wearing, thickness and diameter are huge reasons either to get or sell a piece. And good click spring key. A good a good click scheme. a click. You got me on that last one, HRM. Anyway, what are some other things that you say? Okay, I like it because um, I'm trying to think. I've seen some watches. I've always and I still do like Laurent-Perregaux watches. I know what's inside of them. I know this. I know that. I went down and tried some on and didn't like them. It just that's sort of I guess that's one of the experience. Hey, Goldfinger, how you doing? So it's not. I still like Laurent-Perregaux. I was told the I I had I had my platinum FP Join on and went into Cellini's, and the platinum is relatively heavy, and I think so is the I think comparative. Well, I know comparatively compared to the sort of the case and movement, the FP Join was I think really much heavier than that. So when I put on the Laurent-Perregaux, it felt just didn't have the kind of heft I like. Now that's not their fault. And somebody said, "Well, you tried on a titanium one or a steel one, and if you tried on a platinum or a gold one, then you'd feel the heft." Maybe that was it. I don't know. Hi, Yvonne Cruel. How you doing? So anyhow, I mean, the reason I like the design. I like the way his movements were. It was a movement. It was sort of a squarish one he had at one time that I really liked. But anyway, um, what do you guys like? Truman, holding a good value price retention after purchase is, after all, important. If it is not Holy Trinity or Alanga, those I can accept price drop. Here's the thing about that. I mean, to me, I love price drops. Price drops are very important. If you don't get your watches at full price from an AD, dropping prices is the watch collector's best friend. All you got to do is get it after there's a big drop. Don't get it beforehand. And then once there's a big drop, so you got to watch with a big drop, whatever it was. I just got one recently. It had a huge drop, mainly because it was a switch in the models. It was the Parmigiani, what is it called? Tonda Lune. Okay. So here I got this one, brand new in the box with all of the papers and everything. And I got it for, I think it was actually less than half price. Brand new. Okay. Now, if I sell it, the price drop has already happened. Okay. So, if I turn around and sell it, maybe I'll get what I paid for it, maybe even a little more. And so, or a little less. I can live with that. But the idea that I'm going to pay this way high price and knowing that the watch is going to drop heavily in price, it doesn't drop in value. So, Truman, I tell you, I got to disagree with you on that one. It's the way I buy watches. I mean, and by the way, Truman, your approach is very. I don't want to say it's just what most collectors think about. I'll put it that way. It's the nicest way I could put it. Hey, how you doing, Mr. Grumby? What's up, Graham? Rustem, how you doing? Appeal. Okay. Appeal, value, interesting, horological significance. For example, I like the design and value retention of a Rolex. Well, why do you guys like value retention? Go in, I'm going to go buy a Rolex. Well, I don't want to buy a new one because there's a there's a 2-year waiting list, and they have to sign over your pink slip for your car. Okay. If I were, so I thought, okay, well, I'll get a used Rolex. Wait a minute now. A brand new one costs, let's say, 7,000 for a brand new Rolex. And here is one that's 5 years old, same model, same everything, and it's only like 6,000. Well, I'm not saving any money. I might as well get a new one. And wait 10 years or whatever, however they run that show. I would much rather get a watch that has dropped significantly in price and that one I can afford. And then when I go to sell it, the drop has already happened. Okay. And so I'm not going to be losing money on it. I'll bet more people, I mean, it's just like when there's a price drop, I don't see, I mean, and if it's a good watch that you're buying, why in the world would you buy a watch that's not good enough to last after the drop? Anyway, well, like I said, that's my reason. It's not everybody's. You Americans are lucky. Oh, we are, but I, some are, some aren't. We're like everybody else, I think. You're lucky because you don't have to pay 25% VAT for all of your watches from abroad. You bet we don't. We don't. And I'm glad about that. Um, we got state tax. If you buy one in New York City, okay, this is at least the closest to me. They've got everything there. They've got every brand you can think of. They got a whole bunch of shops. I mean, really fancy shops. Everything from FP Journe to all three of the high end swatches, Breguet, Blancpain, and Harry Winston. They built some new boutiques for them. They're all lined up on Fifth Avenue, almost across the street from the original Harry Winston's on Fifth Avenue. But for that, you pay the New York state tax and you pay the tax for the city tax. So there's something like 8.5%. Not as bad as 25%. I agree. So, but let me ask you something, guys. If you go and you buy a used watch on Chrono 24, let's say you're in England, and you buy a watch from them, and let's say you get it from somebody else in England, do you guys still have to pay that VAT on that? Does Chrono 24 hit you up for that 25% or whatever it is you guys pay? Rustem, what's your opinion of Chopard? I like the LUC Chopards. I do. I think they've got decent movements in them. That's what I can say about Chopard. Chopard, one of my favorite Chopards. I could probably find one that wouldn't cost too much. I don't know whether I'd wear it much or not. Is the Migla Miglia, something like that. It means 1,000 miles, and then it's got the band is a tire track, and I think it's got an ETA movement in it. It was a sports watch type of thing, and I don't think it costs very much. But I mean, if you're going to get one that's fun like that, that would be one. On the other hand, the LUC Chopars, they nice watches. I think the other thing that's nice about Chopard, that is a brand that will go down in price. So if you pay, let's say, $10,000 on a new Chopard, you may end up, when it comes time to sell it, you could sell it for maybe 5 or 6,000. Therefore, if you're going to get a Chopard LUC, get a pre-owned one because at the drop better price. That's the way I would shop. Today I wear a Chinese-made Copage of the IWC, engineer surprisingly well done, has a PT 100,000 movement. Okay. Okay, Von Curl. Here's the thing about IWC. IWC, they're creative in naming their movements. I'll put it that way. Because a lot of the movements that are in their watches are, like you suggest, they're Solitas or something else. Solitas, or I guess some of the older ones are ETAs. But then they change the name of them to make them sound like they're an IWC. And so Breitling does that, IWC does that, and some other popular brands do it. And it's just like, I wouldn't buy one of those, because what they're doing is they're insulting us. They're telling us we're too stupid to realize that. And so screw them. Whoa, I shouldn't talk that way. Got to clean. Excuse me. Okay, Alexander. I love watches that have interesting story behind them, or special designs like Moonwatch or coaxial escapement, or being the first something. Yeah. Those are good reasons. I'm trying to think. That was what I got my Harry Winston for. It was just, actually, it was, in a way, it was really fascinated with the brand Harry Winston. It was like the jeweler of the stars, and I must have been starstruck. But when I found out what was in it, my God, these things are great. The same thing with the Chanel. I got a Chanel watch, not for the name Chanel, but rather because I learned that Gauthier had been one of the watch designers, and a lot of his stuff had gone into it. Now, that was why I liked Chanel, and then I found out the deal that they have with Romain Gauthier. They have a deal with MB&F. They've got a deal with Kinesi. They own part of FP Journe. I mean, and then they own Bell and Ross. And so I've been watching. I think Bell and Ross has sort of been like a skunk work. They're going to try some different things out, and there's stuff. Most of the Bell and Ross, most people could care less about. I did a video on it recently, and I thought Bell and Ross was really interesting, but apparently it wasn't as interesting as I thought it was. A guy, but let me ask you guys another thing too, and then I'll get back. What do you guys think of Universal Geneve? Okay, that's my question for you. So let me take a look at what you're doing right now. I would be especially interested in a GPHG winner if by an AHCI member. Yeah, now to me, yes, that is a really good point, Fan. AHCI is sort of really the elite. It's not easy to become a member of that. And their watches are really very special. There's some top independents who are not involved with it. And that's okay too. I mean, there's, people just weren't interested. But the whole idea, what that really says is that the emphasis is on the watchmaker or the movement maker, and with a lot of AHCI guys. There was one of the ones that Messina, and it was Raul Pages who did the movement for him. That's sort of an interesting kind of thing on that. Okay, let's see what you got. Oh yeah, by the way, too, don't forget Universal Geneve. If you have anything to say about it, I'd like to hear it. Okay, David Ramos, how you doing? One factor for me is the availability of service down the line. That's an interesting one. I have to admit I'm not very good about that. God, I'll tell you this. Around this area, the guys who are experienced watchmakers in service are drying up. So I they are something to consider though. I like to be able to drop off a watch in person at an AD, but I'm willing to mail it to have it serviced. Yeah, I've had big services on three watches, both of my FP Journes and on one of my four Parmigianis, and it came back and it was just like a brand new watch. How you doing, Joseph? Arnold and Son watches are also going to be some great deals in the future, I think. The brand doesn't get much recognition, but they're very nice movements from La Joux-Perregaux. Ah, that's interesting. I don't know about La Joux-Perregaux. I had heard from this is a dealer, and his watchmaker said that there were a lot of problems with Arnold and Son. Now this could be why they're going to La Joux-Perregaux. I don't know, but that's sort of a funny one. That I'm not sure. See what they were doing at one time when they were Jacques SA, La Joux-Perregaux at that time. What they did was that they took an IBOSH, they'd get an IBOSH from ETA, and then they'd make a movement. The ones that I collect, the 736, I think is the IBOSH from an ETA 7001, a Pazoo 7001. So, and then they were sold to Citizen, I think, for a while, and then they weren't. And I don't know where their heads are right now, to tell you the truth. But I know that a lot more companies are using them because ETA is out of the picture, and they don't want to spend a whole lot of more money on some of the better movement makers that are available to everyone, like Vaucher or like what is it? Not Chopard or not Chopard, but Crenode, like Crenode, or if they really want to go fancy, like Agenor. That's way too expensive. Oh, Von Cruel. If a watch looks appealing, the movement is the first thing I want to know. And I do appreciate openness and honesty on that. Yeah, me too. And there's no reason for them not to do that. I agree with that. Truman, if I buy a VC triple calendar from Tim Mosso for, let's say, $20,000, I have to pay $5,000 to get it imported. That's my Achilles heel. Hmm. You got any relatives who may visit from the U.S.? Let me put the question to you that way. Good grief. Yeah, I know. If you buy, what I was going to say, Truman, if, you and another guy, let's say a couple guys in England and one guy in the United Kingdom, UK, one guy has a watch and he wants to sell it as a, and so he goes through Chrono 24. Okay, so you go through Chrono 24 or even eBay. So when he sells it to you, do you have to pay the VAT on that also, or is it only on the initial sale of one? I don't know, because if you do, then there's a lot of really good reasons to have meetups where people sell their watches to each other. Happy Sunday from rainy Florida. The ghost of Yiddish Gambino. Okay. I just got Speak Marin. Ooh, love that. Ooh, I really like that watch. Serpent Calendar. What a wonderful watch. Has a Vaucher Fleurier 3002 movement. Shockingly low price. That's the way to buy watches. Here you have one by, it's got a good movement. I happen to really like the Speak Marin design. So yeah, that's to me is a way to buy watches. Universal Genève has some incredible vintage pieces. Their pole router, which is one of my favorite of theirs, designed by Genta, is a classic design. They also have top-notch micro rotor movements, which later inspired the Patek micro rotors. You know, I've been trying to find out. Somebody said, "Why don't you do something on Universal Genève?" And I've been thinking about it, but then the more I found out about it, it sounds like, I don't want to do a thing just on a vintage brand, but something, because they did sort of come back, and I think they were bought by Breitling or somebody like that. But then I was reading some articles, and it doesn't sound. They said it doesn't sound very promising. It's sort of like, what do they call El Laurent? El Laurent is another. Here's this famous movement that they even made a watch for Marie Antoinette's boyfriend, and so Louis, sort of name is Laurent, looks like Leroy, but it was a sort of a name that he sort of like the guy came out of an orphanage or something like that, and he hung out with Abraham Breguet. Very interesting story. Well, the brand, they used to make these fantastic watches, and from 1900 until 1989, they had the most complicated watch that there was. And then they sort of came back. They're trying to make a comeback, and they had some beautiful cases and some gorgeous looking watches. But then and they lied about it. They had an ETA 7001 in them. And that used to fry me. I mean, and these were like 40 millimeter cases. And if you've ever seen a 7001, you got this little bitty movement. It just was sort of, I don't know. It's just sort of, they never did anything with it. They're owned by Festina now, and I keep hearing promises, and they're doing their COSC kind of stuff at, what's that French observatory, Besançon. And, so there's possibilities for those guys are huge, but they just don't seem to get their act together. Maybe they will. That'd be a brand to keep an eye out for. In fact, that might be a brand now that's heavily discounted that you can find some great deals on. Interesting what Breitling can do with Universal Genève. I sort of wonder what Breitling's going to do with Breitling. I still can't. They're one of those brands that sort of have those dubious names for their movements. Okay, let's see what you're doing. Amatrice Band, how you doing? I'm always torn between real value and brand new price versus resale value. Of course, if you have enough funds, this doesn't come into play. No, you're right. If you're rich, you don't have to worry about those things. I'm not rich, and so I don't know. To me, it wouldn't be as much fun if I were rich. If I were like really rich, I'd say I want that one, and then you got the watch. Where's the sport in that? Michael, let's see. Is servicing an FP-Journe same as servicing a Ferrari? No. Ferrari's a much better price. No, they're about. It depends on which one you have. Like I had my resonance, my FP-Journe chronometer resonance done, and it was about 2,000 to have that done. And I was worried that in fact, I talked to the people in Miami who are doing the servicing. I said, it's okay if you guys send it back to Switzerland to have it done, because I want to be sure that someone who can deal with a residence knows what they're doing. And they said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We got the guys here know what they're doing. It's okay." And then they did a great job. Mark, I'm in the market for a watch. Which one, Mark? I know the one you have is a great watch. I think it's the Chronomet Rain. It's just, to me, it's just a wonderful watch. One of my favorite. Um, and where do you go from there? Yeah, that would be a good question. Van Cruel, audio has pops and crackles. It's fine for now. Oh, my audio now has pops and crackles? Okay, so it comes and goes maybe. How we doing? That's probably what it is. Universal Geneve should have been reviewed 2 years ago. I doubt it will end well in today's market. Yeah, I think you're right, HRM. I really do. I'll tell you something that's really funny. Um, I went to take a look at their some watches at their place, and there's a thing that came up on the website, and they hadn't renewed their license. I guess some kind of license that they needed to have, and they hadn't renewed it yet, so it didn't come up. Like, uh-oh. Hey, Ghost. What was great about the Speak Marin was I got it from a gray dealer on eBay for 65% off retail. Of course, it's a way to buy it. They're not gray dealers, they're secondary markets. Good grief. The whole idea of a gray market or gray dealers is by the ADs. They want it to look slightly shady. It's not. You go down to 47th Street and Federico, don't go there. Don't go there, young man. It's a place to. I got both of my FP Journs there. They've changed in value since I got them. Researching and hunt for a good part is part of fun. I agree 100%. And I found out, especially since I'm broke right now, watch broke. Um, that is the most fun. In fact, it's sort of almost like an anticlimax once you get the watch, because you've been studying it, you've been finding out about it, and then you got it. Oh boy, oh boy. And 2 days later, you're back looking again. It's a terrible hobby. Okay, whoa, I'm over my time limit. I'm going to get in trouble if I don't sign off. Anyway, thanks, guys. I got to think about what I'm going to do about that Universal Geneve. Maybe you're right. Should have been done 2 years ago. Anyway, okay, you got one more question. The more I read and see with German watchmakers, the more I realize they are heading way past Swiss watchmakers. I'll tell you one I really like is Moritz Grossmann. One of the problems that I've seen with the German watchmakers is that their lower priced ones all have Swiss movements. And so I'd like to see some of their, more Kadokis. That's what I'd like to see with the German watches. Anyway, guys, if you're, I guess, in the United States, have a great Labor Day weekend, and see you guys next week.